trouble at UGA, more than a dozen players arrested for vehicular issues, DUI, failure to maintain lane, speeding, etc. 3 players arrested in July, including Ra Thomas. I think does that count twice? Is he counted twice? Is that where there's 3, or are there 3 completely different instances?
No,
I don't know.
there were two
Because it happened to him
instances.
twice.
Well, yes, but no, there was
It's not
two
funny.
other UGA football players that were involved in some shenanigans, again, dealing with a motor vehicle, and
Right.
then rah rah in conjunction with all that other
Sure, yeah,
stuff.
ETN's one of them. Is there, okay, you're saying, is there a culture problem at UGA, or is the Athens Clarke County Sheriff's Office out to get the Bulldogs? Hey, maybe a little both. I don't know. I think it's important to, and I definitely, I really want to know what y'all think about this, because obviously I'm biased with my viewpoint, but I think it's important to react in the proper way when stuff like this happens. And obviously, when something as bad as Ra Thomas's stuff happened, there's no question you're off the team, and obviously, and that's been done. So, some of these others, I don't know, especially some of the speeding things. You had a good point, Matt. Why don't they just Uber everywhere, or something like?
It's an NIL deal that writes itself. Like
Yeah.
it's a great idea. I don't know why we're not doing that.
It may need to be, as part of the NIL deal, it may need to be like a requirement. Like, dude, if you're going to get paid all this money, you're required to not drive yourself or something.
UGA players, stop stressing out your player development personnel. Please stop.
Yeah.
You are causing them to work overtime, and they work so hard to put together your freshman orientation, to have their office open for you, and to make sure that you have everything you need. They make sure you have financial literacy programs. They make sure you get to class, that you have a good GPA, that you have a nutritionist, all of the things. If you needed them to help you apply for a credit card, they would.
Yep.
If you needed them to get you an Uber at 2 a.m., I promise you, your player development personnel would do it for you. Stop stressing them out. You
Sure
need to
beats
do
the
better.
alternative.
You need to do better. I will say my opinion, and it's changed, right? I have very much been a no nonsense person. I still feel like I'm a no nonsense person. But I recently watched this clip again, and maybe I'm in my Saban feelings, or maybe because I'm becoming an adult and I'm starting to understand that people in their 20s don't have fully formed brains, and I'm starting to see that. But I see Nick Saban's clip of, what would you have me do? Do you want me to cut him from the team? He loses his scholarship. He loses his future for, a speeding ticket. Do you want me to do that? Or would you rather me teach him a lesson, punish him appropriately, and then allow him to grow as a man and grow as an individual, and bring him up right, And so I see that, and I see the players that not only Bama has done that with, but other programs have done that as well. And, I see 18 to 22-year-old guys, and not just guys, girls too, and they're dumb. They do dumb things. They feel invincible. And I can only imagine that the feeling of invincibility is so much more when you're on a stage like that. And they do really dumb things despite having all those resources. So I understand punishing them 1,000%. And I hope that Kirby Smart, and I can absolutely wholeheartedly believe that the player personnel and player development personnel are going to make sure that these players don't do that again. As far as the DUI, speeding, all of that. Now, Ra Thomas, appropriate to cut him from the team. That is no longer a immaturity issue. That's a criminal cruelty issue.
It's a bad
We
human
can't
issue,
fix
is what
that.
that is.
That's a
Right.
bad human issue. And you can't fix that, right? Like, you can't teach that through running sprints. That's not going to work.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think it's a culture problem at UGA. I think because of what college football is starting to look like now, and everybody's trying to react to it. Everybody's trying to come up with a program to rein in these egos and rein in all of this invincibility and entitlement that comes with transfer portal, NIL, all of this stuff. I think we're going to see it across programs where these young men feel invincible, they feel a little entitled, and they do some dumb things. And the adults surrounding them are going to try to catch up and keep this from happening. but they have a million other things on their plates. They can only do what they can do. So stop stressing people out, young men. Grow up.
Matt, you kind of brought this to our attention. What's your take on it?
So, I have to take my Tennessee fan hat off for a second and be a little bit analytical about this, because the Tennessee fan in me wants this to be the end of the show and the bricks are coming off, and this is just a sign of the times. But then I have to look at it analytically and go, this is something that's been endemic to big 5-star programs for decades. This is not a new phenomenon. You don't even have to go back that far. Florida State in the early 2000s and the 90s, Tennessee in the 90s, and heck, they used to have a thing called the Fulmer Cup where they would track how many times a player for a football team would get in trouble, and then they would give award points depending on what it was. It was called the Fulmer Cup because it was back when Tennessee used to have problems with this stuff too. Like, these big league programs are going to have stuff like this. You get these 4 and 5-star recruits. They're used to everybody worshiping the ground they walk on. They're going to have an air of superiority. It's just, especially when you get into certain mindsets, like, you can't be you can't be self-assured and play quarterback. You can't double guess yourself. You have to have some confidence. Same thing if you're a wide receiver or some of these other skill positions. You're gonna have to be a little cocky. It's just the nature of the beast. With that being said, I think there's a lot to say about that. This is nothing new. This happens. This sort of situation goes on. On the paper, on our little script, I said, "Is this a culture problem?" No, I don't think it is. I think this just boils down to young kids with too much time or too much money or too much access to stuff that they don't need, making dumb decisions. They're teenagers, practically, most of them. Some of them are still in their early 20s. You take any 3 of us and look at some of the decisions we made when we were 20, 21, 22. I can guarantee you they weren't great. Now, I didn't get any DUIs or anything, but still, you make bad decisions when you're young. It's part of growing up. That being said, I do think that Georgia has to kind of look at the situation and kind of realize, oh, okay, we need to, twist this or tweak this or figure out some way to keep them accountable. I think there needs to be some upperclassmen leadership that kind of takes these younger guys and says, hey, listen, if you're going to be stupid, at least give me a phone call before you get really dumb, so I can kind of keep track of you. I just feel like this is something that one of two things is going to happen. One, we continue to see little things going forward and this kind of gets corrected. Or 2, this is going to spiral out of control and we're going to get worse things. I think Kirby, as much as I hate to say it, has a pretty good handle on the program. I don't foresee this being a huge problem going forward. I think it'll get fixed. But it does kind of make you kind of go, we need to calm down a little bit. We need to make some better decisions. On a separate note, and I just want to throw this out there has been a lot of conversation, and again, I go back to Twitter because I'm on Twitter a lot and I see things. There's been a lot of people that are blaming the Athens Clarke County Sheriff's Office for a lot of this stuff. And I'm like, guys, you can't blame them for enforcing the law. That's their entire job. They're not out to get anybody. They're out there paying guys that are making stupid decisions before somebody gets seriously hurt. Kind of like what happened a couple years ago when you had a couple people get killed in a racing incident in Athens. They're hyper aware of some of the stupidity that's around this program. So I mean, you can't
had a murder on
right
off UGA's campus. I mean, the police
There's
around
been a
that
lot going on in Athens
are heightened. And if anything, we should probably be looking at the police in every other college town who is not giving those young men tickets when they need
Tuscaloosa.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Every other place, 1,000%. We need to be doing that. But I tell people from other states, and if you are someone who's going to be in Georgia, if you're going to the University of Georgia, wherever you're going, and you're not from the state of Georgia, there's one thing I know. The police, the sheriff's department, and GSP work harder than anybody else. And by working harder, I mean they sit in their cars and they are trying to find something to pull you over for. You may have not even fully done it. You may have just thought about doing it. You're going to get pulled over. Okay.
Heck,
I've never seen
put up cameras just to hit people while they go to school.
Right.
I've never seen more police presence in a state than I have in the state of Georgia. They will get you.
They will get you.
Time. every
Yep.
time. I've had
Yep.
several tickets. We'll get you.
You know, knock wood, I haven't had one in a while, but there was a
Been a
stretch
while.
there. There was a stretch there. I think I reached the double digits in number of tickets. So we won't talk about
Ouch.
that. Yeah. So, um, all right. So,
Wes, I've ridden with you before. You don't drive like a madman.
like I said, it's been a while, but what did you say earlier?
Do stupid
All of
things.
us, all of us, yeah, we did stupid things when we were younger. All right. So,
Wes got in his car and he turned on like Linkin Park in like 2006. And just went wild.
No, Wes
yeah,
just probably gave a GSP officer an unhappy face, and they're like, you know what, pull him over.
give
Yeah,
it,
pull him
yeah,
over.
this guy. Yep.